I'm Phil Fitzgerald. I'm a resident of Liberty County, which is part of this congressional district. I've been married 36 years to my wife, Amy. I own and operate several businesses in Liberty County. If you're familiar with that part of the country, and head up 146 to a little town called Moss Hill, Texas, there's a Chevron Fitzpac on the corner. We own and operate that. Been there since I was 11 years old. It's probably one of the few American-owned and operated convenience store left in this country. It's not getting any easier to operate them either. I've got 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Actually, my 2 grandchildren are the reason I'm in this race. My wife and I worried about their future, and I decided to do something about it. I was a justice of the peace for 20 years and a county judge for 4 years. And when the opportunity came up to run for this office, I actually signed up on December the 9th, the original filing deadline, and as you know, there's 12 candidates now. I'm a conservative. When I was county judge in Liberty, I started with an $8 million fund balance. 4 years later, we had an $18 million fund balance. That's a pretty good accomplishment for a small county like Liberty. It took a lot of cooperation. If you send me to Washington, I think I'm going to take that quality to Washington, try to cooperate with other people to solve issues and quit the bickering and fighting and get some things accomplished. I don't know where I'm at on my 2 minutes. Still got a little time. Other than that, I'm a conservative. I think when we go to Washington, we need to go with Christian values as the backbone of our decisions. I'll only promise you 2 things. Everything I vote on, first thing I'll consider is whether it pleases God, and then the next thing I'll consider is whether it benefits my grandchildren's future. And I think if I cover those 2 areas,
the first few questions are actually a series of yes, no, or one-word response type questions. The questions will be at a fast pace, so there is no timer on these questions. What is your marital status? Have you ran for public office before? If so, which office? Have you ran for office
Yes, I'm
before?
married. I ran for office twice.
If elected, where will your primary district office be located?
Liberty County, that's my
How many times have you attended hearings in Washington, D.C.?
I've never attended hearings, but
Do you favor an increase in the minimum wage?
No, I do not.
That was the last of the quick response questions.
Sorry about that. I am married, by the way.
Question number 2, a 30-second response. Should a representative be required to actually live in the district a certain period of time prior to running for that office?
Yes, he should. I think at least 2 years minimum, but I think it's very important that they live in the district.
Question number 3, a 30-second response. Will you support a constitutional amendment to require that laws apply equally to citizens and members of Congress?
Yes, I don't quite understand how a congressman can't be assumed to be a citizen, that those laws would automatically apply to them anyway. Yes, they should apply to everybody.
Question number 4, a 30-second response. Have you read your party's platform, and do you support it?
I have read it. I support it. I would be hypocritical if I stood here and told you that I didn't buy lottery tickets. I have bought lottery tickets before, and I do sell them in my store. So, you know, as far as 100% against gambling, I'd have to say not.
Question number 5, a 1-minute response. What is your overall thought on the Department of Homeland Security?
It's real easy. I think it needs to go away. I think we've created more government when we created Homeland Security. I think we already had enough agencies to control the security of this country, and we've just developed another one that, to me's primary goal is to infringe on our lives individually as to the security of this country.
Question number 6, a 30-second response. What role should the Department of Homeland Security have as it relates to cybersecurity?
Well, it kind of relates to my last question. I think they need to go, and I think they need to, if they're to exist, be very regulated on interfering with our privacy.
Question number 7, a 30-second response. What are your thoughts of having drones watching our borders and citizens? And should local law enforcement be allowed to utilize drones without probable cause?
I don't think we need to use drones. I think there's a very simple answer to regulating our border. I've been a judge before, and the problem is we deport them to their destination of origin. We need to deport them to the farthest, most southern tip of Mexico and let them see if they can get back and start that trip over, and it'll deter them.
Yeehaw!
Question number 8, a 30-second response. What are your thoughts on the war on drugs?
Well, like I say, I've been a judge before, and the war on drugs, people cannot purchase the drugs if we don't allow the people to buy them. Our efforts are on the big mainstream. If we would attack the local people, it's amazing that we know where these people are at, we know where the places are that sell them, but we don't attack those places like we should. If we would start attacking them, they would have to shut down locally, and that'd solve the problem on up the ladder.
Question number 9, a 30-second response. Is government spending out of control? If so, what should be done to reduce it?
It's definitely out of control. Anytime you have an $18 trillion debt and your annual budget is $1 trillion, that means you haven't been able to pay a bill in 17 years. Again, as county judge, I've had a lot of experience with federal programs, and every program that I've been involved in could be cut tremendously and still provide the function that it would provide. My proposal is start out cutting everything 20%. You'll find out what's really needed, what's not needed, and then work from there.
Question number 10, a 30-second response. What is the first piece of legislation you will personally offer?
Actually, I don't really have a first piece of legislation that I'd offer. My agenda, again, would be to go to Washington to work with other people instead of bickering about everything, and try to unite people to work together to solve issues, whatever that issue may be.
Question number 11, a 30-second response. On which committee do you feel you are best qualified to serve? Please explain.
I would hope appropriations. I think appropriations is the backbone of getting this country out of fiscal debt. Another problem with the federal government is oversight. They dole this money out. It's spent in some extravagant manners, and a lot of people would be fired in the private sector for authorizing some of the expenditures that the federal government makes.
Question number 12, a 1-minute response. Please share your thoughts on amnesty for the estimated 12.5 million illegals in the United States.
I don't think we should provide them amnesty, but what I do think is you have the left that wants to give them amnesty and citizenship and everything that you can imagine. The far right wants to drag them across the border by the head of the hair. I think what you've got to start with is a topic called residency. There are people in this country, just like other immigrants, that are here to work for the right and proper reasons. I know a personal situation where a man has married a woman and has a child. She doesn't want to become a citizen. She just wants the right to be here as a resident, to be with her husband and her son.
Closing comment, a 1-minute response. You will have 1 minute to offer closing comments.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming out and just listening to us. It's an honor just to be here. Again, if you send me to Washington, my agenda is to get things done. I think the bickering and the name calling and all that is just dividing the people that I call conservative, and it's going to cost us in future elections, and those elections are going to cost us this country if we're not careful. Again, Bill Fitzgerald, thanks for having me.